All right, so I'm here at the Philadelphia International Airport, headed to the West Coast, and a couple days ago I posted on Facebook that I was going to get away on a mountain and pray, and there's a reason why I did that. That has a story behind it that is just mind-blowing, and I've wanted to share it for a long time, literally a couple of years now, and I haven't. So I thought I would do it now. Basically, what happened was I had heard about this church in Northern California called Bethel Church in Redding, California, and people had said to me that, people there are just praying 24/7, that they're just going crazy for the Lord, basically, and as a result, that there's incredible life there, incredible ministry there, and if you ever get a chance to go, you should go. And I got a chance to go. A colleague of mine at City Teen applied for a Young Leaders Conference and was accepted and encouraged me to do the same, and I did, and I was as well. And so we trekked up there one weekend for a couple of days, and I was sort of in this mentality that, is one church any, different or better than another? Is it, just a building? Just having those kinds of questions in my mind and not wanting to go in there with a lot of expectations. But I went, and nonetheless, the first night they had a sort of opening service, and it started with a long worship set, which Bethel's just known for. They've got great music that comes out of there. And immediately when they started to worship, there were people who were literally, just like jumping around and really letting loose, dancing and singing and all kinds of stuff. And at first I felt like very sort of insecure, maybe, I guess. And the person who was singing, I think, knew that a lot of people might be, and sort of encouraged us to sort of just let go and just let it be between God and me. And so I closed my eyes and I just started to pray. And as I did, I had this like crazy vision, and this is going to sound nuts, but this is the truth, that when you close your eyes and you rub them really hard and you get that sort of technicolor picture. I had that, and it was God, literally there in sort of this large technicolor God, and he had his arms spread wide open, and he was smiling, like this big smile, and he looked at me, and then he just started to go like this, and he started clapping, and he was smiling, and he was laughing, and I remember I just like cracked up, and I was like, I just had this sense, like, just loosen up, and this is the God of laughter. And so I tried to embrace that for the rest of the weekend, and ever since, in fact. But really, the main thing that I want to tell you has to do with my time right before I left the conference. So the conference happened, and it was really wild. I mean, I literally had, people coming up to me a couple of times, giving me prophetic words, like they were saying, hey Ryan, this is going to happen, or this is the way you are being perceived right now in the kingdom of God. And it's crazy because as I have the booklet here from this conference, I've carried it with me for 2 years, knowing that there were things written in it that I would need to reference back, and I hardly have ever. And I've meant to share this story for a long time. And as I'm reading it again, I'm realizing like some of the things that were written 2 years ago now are actually like coming completely true. With my move back to the East Coast and other things. But that's a side note, a story for another time. And so I had this rich time there for sure, wrote a lot of notes, but there was no time built in to go to this prayer room that I'd heard about, where people pray for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so there was a barbecue to sort of end the conference, and I decided to skip the barbecue and go to this prayer room. And I did, but before I did, that morning I posted on Facebook, I said, hey, I'm going into this prayer room. If anybody needs prayer, just let me know, okay? And I didn't know, what would come of it, but I walked into this prayer room, and it was right around lunchtime, about 12 o'clock, and nothing crazy, just a circular room, very quiet, you know, and some pillows on the floor and things like that. Lots of windows looking out on sort of this campus. And I remember I walked in, I sat down, and I just looked forward to some time with God, and I didn't have any agenda or plan. And I sat down and I started to pray. And, you know, I prayed for the usual stuff, you know, a little bit, that God would just, you know, hear my prayers and for family. And then I thought, you know, I'm just gonna start out with these Facebook requests. So I went on my phone. I just started to look and see, you know, anybody who had commented on that request or who had even liked it. I decided I was going to pray for those people too. And so I started to pray, and then I started to listen for each person. And as I did, again, right there, as I closed my eyes, or even when my eyes were open, I saw this Technicolor Jesus doing, like, it was almost like a game of charades where he was doing things, but I immediately knew what he was saying to me, just in the actions. So, for example, you know, he was telling me things. Like, I was praying for this social photographer in Philadelphia who had liked it. And, you know, immediately he said, you know, the curious nature that this photographer has, I gave to him, and so on and so forth. And, you know, and then I prayed again for a friend of mine, good friend of mine from college. His wife had written me a private message and said, pray for my dad. And that was all she wrote me. And so I start praying for her. And I'm thinking, all right, I know, I never met her dad. I know her maiden name. I think I know where they live. So I'm praying for this random guy in a state, and all of a sudden I see Jesus just take a picture of this man and flip him around 180 degrees. And then he says to me, he needs to embrace and accept the love that his wife has for him. And so I'm getting, like, very specific pictures. And I'm kind of thinking, man, this is so crazy, but I have to write this down, okay? Because I had like 10, 12 people to pray for. And I started to write it down. And then I prayed for everybody, and I got, you know, again, just like very specific sort of answers in this Technicolor charade style instant download is all the way I could describe it. And I wrote it down, and then I got done, and I thought, man, this is so specific. Like, what if this is actually from God? Like, what if I've gotten this and I'm just sitting here? And so, at the risk of looking like a complete religious fool or idiot or whatever, I decided to just send this to the people who had sent it to me, and I did that. And, like, immediately I started to get responses back. I mean, literally, the photographer in Philly wrote me and said, this is the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me. And then, you know, the buddy of mine, his wife, wrote and said, she said, you must have, my buddy, he must have told you about my dad. And I said, I have no idea, I haven't talked to him for months. And she said, literally, he just had a heart attack, and the doctor said if he doesn't turn his life around 180 degrees, he's gonna die. And his wife is trying to help him and love him and care for him, and he's not listening, and he's not accepting her love. And so what I had said to her was, like, word for word some of the exact things that the doctor had said. And so she was just texting me and saying, like, I'm bawling right now. And I'm like, what? This is insanity. This is crazy. I'd never had anything like that happen. And so I'm literally just getting, you know, I got these incredible pictures, and including of my own wife. You know, God gave me a vision of her, of how to work with her and talk to her and love her, that to this day, I just forget. It's just become a part of, like, our marriage. Like, you know, he talked about wrapping her just ever so gently in a warm blanket, kind of. And when I later told my wife, she cried, you know, because she had gotten that similar vision and sense and language before, and it was right on, and it just really, it was so wild. And then I remember I got up to leave, and I felt like I had been there for, like, maybe an hour and a half, okay, tops. So I go to leave, and they have a guest book, so you sign in, you can kind of put the time. And I went to leave to sign out, and I looked at my watch, and I was like, I'd been there for almost 4 hours, just sitting and praying. I had no idea. When I looked at the time, I felt like I was in a complete time warp or something. Like I was blown away. So I left this prayer room just like, what just happened? I got this download, time flew. I felt like I was on cloud nine. I can't describe it any other way except for to say I was just like the most positive, filled energy that I've ever had. And feeling just super connected to God, like feeling like, wow, he actually will talk directly to me, specifically, practically. And I remember I got in the car to drive home. It's about a 4-hour drive home to the Bay Area where we were living. And I got in the car and it just occurred to me as I was driving that it never has to end. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, that connection, you know, that download, that joy, that knowledge, the wisdom, the love, all of that, it doesn't have to end. It's me who chooses to not be a part of that and to not listen and to not pray. And so that was one of the most incredible times in prayer. And I was so blessed that I had that little inkling to kind of offer to pray for other people. And so when I'm going to the Bay Area again. I don't live there anymore, but going back for business, and I have time to get away one night on a mountain and just pray and listen, you know, all night long. And I'm so excited. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and just feel like it's just like a date with the Lord that I've been wanting for so long. And I thought, you know, I just want to put that out there again for people. And, you know, I don't know what God's going to do. Maybe it will be totally different, but it doesn't matter. I know that it'll be a sweet, sweet union. And my encouragement is to go to those prayer rooms, to go pray in your room, even in a corner or a closet, the word says, and listen for the Lord. And he will speak to you, and he will fill you, and he will give you the most encouraging pictures and visions and wisdom. I'm 100% certain of that. Again, not only because of this story, but ever since then, my life has been changed to go do this more often and get away. And so I hope that you do too. And I hope this is an encouragement and a blessing. And seriously, for those of you who have taken all the time to watch this, go ahead and write me or like my post or whatever, and I'll pray for you while I'm on a mountain here in a couple nights before the Lord. So be blessed. Thank you for watching. Take care.